how do you educate people on how and what a government can do?
You cannot. You cannot. They're not going to listen to that. They don't trust. Either don't trust the government or they overtrust the government. You can't. And you can't expect them to sit in meetings and have all the background. They just don't. And that's the poor thing about social media. It's ready, fire, aim. You know, you don't know. You have no real knowledge of what they're talking about. But you think you know better because it would seem to make sense that would have been torn down 15 years ago. But I wouldn't want somebody to come on my property and tear my place down unless I'd gotten proper notice and so forth. I mean, it's not the town's property. You can't just go and knock the buildings down, you know, unless there's a public safety concern. And in this case, there was.
Yeah, the wall closest to Broadway was in danger of collapsing
onto the street, yeah.
Onto the road, and had that been the case, lives might have been lost. Paul Healy, there aren't a lot of old buildings standing that are on the verge of collapsing where you work in Attleboro.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are in Quincy. Why doesn't the city take them down?
Look how long it took Attleboro to get rid of the fish net building. That eyesore in the middle of downtown.
And that was not in danger of falling.
No.
A private developer's building that. Though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something under the heading of something I should know, but I don't. Was the owner of the Webster building continuously paying taxes on that property, or were they delinquent?
They are delinquent, but only a year or two delinquent, not 10 years back, from what I understand. The other criticism I saw on social media was you can't even find who the owner is.
Well,
so I went on the Board of Assessors, I went in the database and so on. Yeah, it's either a trust or an estate, and it's someone who lives in, I believe, Cranston or Johnston.
Yep.
And they simply do not have the money to knock it down,
yep.
take all the debris away,
Yep.
develop it, because to develop it, you first of all have to make sure all the chemicals and stuff are out of the ground. They don't have the money to do that.
Right.
What are they supposed to do?
Well, sadly, sometimes it's to your tax advantage to have a broken down property like that, to write it off as a tax loss and reduce your tax obligation. But if you can't afford to take care of it, the town has to step up and do it. And I know that's not an ideal situation, but it's a better solution than the eyesore, the unsafe eyesore, remaining standing.
The next building I guess we'll be talking about, I know it as the Benson Building. I know it's not the Benson Building, it's the building right next to Dyer Lake Funeral Home. I was talking to someone from Dyer Lake, and when that building caught fire recently, whether it was kids or homeless inside lighting a fire to stay warm, the owners of Dyer Lake, even though the fire trucks were parked in their lot shooting water at the building, they were not notified that the building next door was on fire. And legally, they don't have to be notified.
Yeah, sure.
But there were bodies there waiting to be waked in that building. What if that fire had spread? So I guess that's the next building to be dealt with.
Well, that certainly would be, yes. C. Ray Randall, I think, is the name of the company there. So,
okay. I know Benson Cabinets were in there towards the end.
Yeah. But, I mean, that would have been a horrible situation. But, like I said, in the midst of fighting a fire like that, that's probably was not on the front of the mind of the firefighters or even people back in the station, the dispatchers back in the station. You know, that's a dangerous situation when you get a dilapidated building.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look what happened in Worcester.
I was just going to say that as a Central Mass guy, for those who are mad at the town of North Attleboro for spending taxpayer dollars to take down the Webster building, 6 firefighters died at the warehouse in Worcester when that was set on fire by homeless people using candles to try to stay warm.
Seems like yesterday. What was that, about 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
That was late in the 20th century.
Yeah.
Man.
And that changed firefighting, because from then on, when you ever had an eyesore building like that, they would go into it and have things marked off, no firefighters in here, so they would be organized when that fire eventually did take place.
Well, that's why, and even the former dry cleaner on North Washington Street, B&L Cleaners, they have the white sign with the red X, meaning that there's no occupants in there.
Yep.
But what if there's homeless in there that you don't know about?
Yeah, how do you know?
So,
Okay.
town's hands are tied when it comes to dilapidated buildings unless the town takes it by eminent domain
Yep.
or it becomes a public danger falling into the street or onto a walkway. Can the town do anything? And that's what people on social media just don't get.